Good morning, sir. I see you're checking in for a flight to JFK today.
Oh my God, I am so happy to be here. I've been on the road for 6 weeks. It's been to like 10 cities. It's the end of conference season. I'm trying to make it home for Thanksgiving because I want to have a great dinner with my family. And it's been so difficult. It's kind of like that John Candy, Steve Martin movie, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Well, if you look any more like John Candy than you do, I'm going to have to charge you for 2 seats.
Do you live, eat, and sleep the hotel industry? Looking to brush up on your game? You've come to the right place. Welcome to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast, with your host, Glenn Hausman.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the No Vacancy Podcast. It's me, Glenn Hausman here. Thank you so much for listening. I'm absolutely thrilled. I'm excited, and I am just awestruck that so many of you are tuning in each and every week. And boy, am I feeling really good about stuff these days. That's why I'm very up. I'm very excited. I'm at home for the first time in I think like 6 weeks for an extended period of time, and I just can't wait. I hope everyone's going to have a great Thanksgiving holiday, which is going on right now. As we're recording this, it's just a couple of days away, and I'm really thrilled that it's an exciting and fun time of year for all of us. Who doesn't like that holiday season? But most importantly, I want to thank all of you folks out there for listening each and every week and spreading the word. The likes on the Facebook page, they're going up, which I really love to see. And we've just debuted NoVacancyNews.com, so please be sure to check that out. Still in beta mode, so if you have any questions or concerns, shoot them over to me at glenn@rouse.media, and I will make sure that our programming team gets that all settled. I like how I said programming team, like I've got a giant team of people working for me here behind the scenes, but we'll just go with that. I also want to thank everybody for sending me all that positive vibes and love for me getting mentioned in the New York Times last week. Well, not me, but the podcast mentioned in the New York Times, so that was super exciting, and I want to be sure that if you missed the Facebook Live event that I did that was sponsored by Best Western Hotels and Resorts last week at the BDNY event, it is now available at NoVacancyNews.com. So you could watch me and Anthony Melchiori up there just fighting it out and talking about all the major issues that are happening in the hospitality industry. But as you know, I just want to keep everybody plugged into what's going on. And one of the trends that I'm seeing right now is that wellness, that sense of well-being. And I thought it'd be really fun to have Mr. Stephen Schwartz. He's the president and CEO of Midtown Athletic Clubs out of Chicago on the show to talk a little bit about this. Stephen, thanks for making it through my near 2 minutes there on your side. How you doing today?
Good morning, Glenn. I'm terrific, although I have to admit it's not a beautiful day here in Chicago. But I guess it's a beautiful day for indoor tennis. Let's put it that way.
Which is what you have for sure at your clubs, right?
We have a lot of it, that's for sure. I think we're the world's largest operator of indoor tennis courts, so it's a good day. It's a great day in Chicago.
Yeah, I got to get back into tennis. I haven't played tennis, I think, since 1978. I'm just offended that the athletic gear has changed from those super long shorts that used to go down to your knees when you'd play. I used to like those. That was a really good look for me. Plus, I really liked the bowl haircut that my mom had me in at that time. So just all straight edge all around. The people at Floby Corp would be proud. But Stephen, it's really cool. You're opening up a hotel in Chicago, the Midtown Club. It just recently debuted. Is that correct?
That's correct. We call the hotel at Midtown.
Mm-hmm.
Midtown started as a tennis club in 1970, then the world's largest indoor tennis club. My father and grandfather built it. My dad was a great tennis player.
Mm-hmm.
And I joined the company in the mid-'80s after a stint as director of development at Hyatt and as a hotel development consultant. But
right.
I was never a great tennis player, and I saw the future more in athletic clubs. And over time, converted the number of clubs that my dad and grandfather had assembled or built into multi-recreation clubs. We changed the name from Midtown to Midtown Athletic Clubs. And now we've added it a hotel. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. What you need to really diversify with your healthy options out there. Tennis used to be big, and I was joking around in the 1970s, but it's just not as visible anymore, I think, amongst players these days. So it's great to have all of these other types of activities out there. So at your clubs, what are people looking to get in shape with most these days?
Well, our clubs are in the high end of the market. We actually have two divisions of our company, just to give you some background.
Yeah, please.
One are eight. We own and operate eight really large, high-end indoor-outdoor sports resort type clubs. Four in Chicago, one in Montreal, one in upstate New York, one in Atlanta, and one in South Florida. And then we manage corporate fitness centers and hospital wellness centers and fitness centers for large real estate developers, another 20. So we have 22 of those locations. And those are scattered all over the Midwest and the East. So that's our main business. We just opened the hotel, which we'll be talking about. But in terms of what people do, since when we were growing up, Glenn, most people they may have played a little football or basketball,
right.
baseball.
I was a soccer kid growing up. That was really big in the 70s.
And that was just kind of an emerging sport back then for Americans.
Yeah.
And now our kids have just a plethora of choices. And it's gone from everything from lacrosse and hockey and to ultimate frisbee and rugby and all those kinds of team sports. And then you've got the explosion of all the individual things. And what's added and what's become kind of interesting is the addition of spinning and yoga and things like Pilates to what people think of as what is their exercise routine.
Right.
Whereas when we were growing up, that would be kind of unthinkable.
No, I mean it wasn't even wasn't even considered. Even stuff like Taekwondo or karate just wasn't even considered as part of the mainstream conversation. Now all of these things are just there all the time. So it's before we get into the hotel and stuff, how do you keep track of what you find is interesting for your particular customers, and how do you keep ahead of those trends so you don't find yourself offering something that's irrelevant to potential clients?
Well, there's a little bit of trial and error to it because there's a lot of fads in our business, and then some of them stick. It was a while ago now, but spinning broke onto the market, and people said this is a kind of a goofy thing, and it's just another fad. And of course, it's stuck and grown, and is now a huge offering. Pilates is one of those things that looked like a fad that turned into a trend. But there's lots of other myriad of things that have popped up and come and gone. And at the end of the day, exercise, like you ever see Herschel Walker? I mean, he's like the perfect specimen of a human being.
I did in 1982.
Right. He never lifted weights.
No.
He never went to a gym. He just did push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, and ran. And so you all the stuff that we've done to evolve for exercise is really to compensate for the fact that it's hard or boring or we don't really understand what to do and don't have the discipline.
Oh, yeah. I definitely don't have the discipline at all to do a lot of what you're talking about. But I keep trying, Stephen.
That's the funny thing about the health club business. A third of the people that join quit and then they rejoin later. So you kind of go in and out of the cycle of wanting to exercise. And that's a big challenge for the health club business. It is.
And let me point out, Stephen, before you continue, that I actually went swimming at the gym the day before yesterday. So now I get to tell everybody how healthy I am and just be really righteous about it when people don't go and exercise. So that's the vibe I'm putting out there right now.
Very important. And whenever I go to dinner, I tell everybody to get dessert because then they feel guilty of joining a health club the next day. It's perfect.
All right, sorry to cut you off, but a good joke is always gonna reign around here.
Right. So the challenge for us is to get people who come in with their aspirations of being fit and healthy, and convert them into habits, healthy habits. And one of the ways that we're able to do it in our business is by creating social connections and getting people involved in sports or in group exercise activities, because it's much easier to cancel an appointment with yourself to go work out than it is to stand up a friend to play tennis or join a basketball league or even to go to an exercise class.
Right. So the whole idea there is, hey, if I'm a jerk to myself, that's one thing, but I don't want to appear to be that way to other people. So it kind of keeps you in check, forces you to get out there and keep in shape.
And the good news is the number of people who are regular exercisers is growing dramatically, and all the science is, insanely in favor of exercise kind of as medicine. Mm-hmm. And so it's impossible to ignore how important it is and how sedentary our lifestyles are.
Well, I could ignore it. I'm just gonna say, Stephen, everything you're saying is fake news, so I don't have to deal with it. So how do you answer that one?
I hope they invent a pill for you soon.
I agree, but I will tell you, I agree with you for real, 100%. You need to take care of yourself, and it's one of the things that I struggle with as a human being. I'm talking to you right now. We're doing this interview remotely, but I have a standing desk, so I'm standing up, and at least I'm not being sedentary. I'm moving around and doing stuff. And no, I'm not trying to claim that that's the right way to exercise, but it is something, right?
It's a big difference. Standing desks are a big deal. Life Fitness has come out with desks with treadmills as a steel case. Mm-hmm. We've got a few in the office. I find it a little hard to do myself, because I typing and bouncing around doesn't work for me. But you know what? The other thing about clubs and what makes clubs great, and what makes our clubs great, is the whole environment, the whole experience makes you feel better. And so there was this theory, or this concept of third place. I don't know if you've heard it.
Like Starbucks.
That was talked about.
Yeah.
Like a Starbucks. Mm-hmm. But a Starbucks really isn't as much of a third place as a Midtown Club is.
Right.
When you walk into you see your friends, you see people you know. We build lots of lounge areas. We've blurred the lines between hospitality and health clubs very effectively.
I love that. And I want to hear more about it, but let me explain first to our listeners who may not know what the third place is. Home, work, those would be place one, place two. The third place is where that other place that you're normally drawn to spend time. It was popularized by Starbucks, and now I think that you've got the right idea there. Give people a place that they can hang out, to be healthy and do the right thing by their body, while also offering an opportunity to be human beings, which means social and connecting with others.
So that's exactly right. Our clubs have restaurants, not just a juice bar, a smoothie bar. Mm-hmm. We've got lounges, fireplace, free Wi-Fi, and I build lounge areas and social areas into all of our clubs so that you go there and you hang out.
Right.
The other thing is, by having a sports background, I played Monday night tennis with the same group of guys for 20 years.
Wow.
And it becomes a regular part of our group, of our life.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know these guys. Who else do you hang out with for an hour or two a week?
Right.
On a social basis? Probably no one.
No.
If you go to a group exercise class or yoga class 1.7 times a week, like our average user does, mm-hmm. and you see this, and you're a woman, you see the same women there, and it's Tuesdays at 10 o'clock. Over time, it's inevitable that you're going to develop some relationships.
Right.
And we try and facilitate that, not just by having the class, but by having a place where people can chat and talk and just get to know each other.
Right. And I think that's so important, because that, besides the fact that you're doing the exercise in a group, when you have those strong bonds with people, I think that social connection makes you actively want to do it more, as opposed to begrudgingly going ahead and doing the right thing for yourself.
Yeah, it becomes something you look forward to. Yeah. And if we can get to that stage, then what you have in our business is a subscription model.
Right.
You pay each month, it's automatically deducted, and in our case, an individual dues is $180. That may sound like a lot to some, but if you put that in the context of how much time you're spending and how valuable it is to your life, it's kind of a hell of a deal.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Makes a lot of sense. Now I want to talk about the hotel, but before we do that, I do want to take a moment to say thank you so much to Duetto, because this show is brought to you in part by Duetto, the revenue strategy technology platform that is being used by thousands of hotels right now. And you know what? They are making more money from it and beating growth rates. If you want to see great stories from companies that are finding success with Duetto, check out GetRevenueResults.com. GetRevenueResults.com. And you'll learn all about what Duetto is up to. Sorry about for that commercial break there, Stephen. But you know what? I got to pay the bills. My kids now, they are 13 and a half. They're twins, and they don't stop eating. And it's the only thing I can do to make sure I keep them well fed.
Yeah, and pretty soon you're going to need to pay for health clubs. So, you got to keep doing that.
That is true. I only wish I had a really cool one, such as yours, to go to in Chicago. Okay, so the hotel at Midtown. I'm excited to talk about this because I've seen the confluence between hospitality and wellness and that particular point of view coming together more organically over the last 4 or 5 years. It used to just be, let's build a hotel that has a big gym. But now it seems to be all aspects of our lifestyle are being considered when it comes to creating a property that focuses on that health and physical and mental improvement regime. So why don't you give me a little bit on what your hotel is all about and what makes it different?
So we have what we have is a boutique hotel, defined as really a small hotel. We have 55 rooms. 4 of them are suites, so 51 standard kings or double queens, and then 4 suites, one of which is kind of ridiculous. Not being part of a chain, we kind of went off pizza and had some fun. We built a whole wraparound 2-story suite with a great view of the city. But having said that, what we have is a great location, and that's always the most important thing to start with for a hotel. It's not what people would think of first when I think of a great location in Chicago being one of the great hotel towns. You have Michigan Avenue, the Loop, McCormick Place, something like 40,000 rooms downtown. You've got O'Hare, where you've got something like 17,000 rooms. So between O'Hare and downtown, there are absolutely 0 hotel rooms within a mile of either direction of the highway.
Wow.
Having said that, where we are at Fullerton and Damon is the absolute intersection of 4 very important, wealthy residential neighborhoods. Some are Logan Square, which is the up-and-coming cool neighborhood, Bucktown, Lincoln Park, Roscoe Village. And so in that little kind of 1.5 mile area around our club, we probably have 300,000-400,000 good income households and no hotel rooms. That's bigger than many cities.
Right.
We also have lots of businesses in that area. So I think there's basic, what I call mother-in-law demand in the area. But there's also enough businesses in there that there's some commercial business. And then what you have is just this location where if you are doing business in Chicago, you're kind of central to lots of different locations. And if you are a downtown guy or gal that has a meeting, you have to make a choice. Do I really want this enormous amenity, or do I just want to be next door to my law firm?
Right.
And I think for some degree of people, they're going to be very excited about having what Condé Nast just called the most exciting new hotel in Chicago.
Hey, congratulations on that. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, I don't know if you saw the article. It was fabulous.
No, I wish I'd known about that. Otherwise, I would have complimented you on that instead of forcing you to pat yourself on the back. So sorry about that.
Well, it's not below me, but they came out and they just and one of the quotes that my architect said was, "We're 94% amenity, 6% hotel."
Right.
And that's the ratio of club facilities to hotels. So when you come and check in at Midtown, you become essentially a member of the club. It's the world's largest health club. We've got a huge indoor pool.
Nice.
So for serious lap swimmers, we've got an outdoor pool with all these. It's on a deck with all these trees and for shade and fire pits, and then we've got what we've done is I've curated some of the best of what I think are the boutique fitness options out there. So we have a high-end spin studio with a huge LED screen for a virtual immersion experience we call Ride. We've got a Group X studio that we call Theater, and it doesn't look like any Group X studio I've ever been in. It has no mirrors. It's dark Parisian apartment wood. It's got lights in the ceiling like a nightclub, and so it's really a show and experience to be in the class. For our yoga studio, we call it Samadhi, and it's got you have to see it to believe it.
Right.
It's got, in addition to real oak floors, it's got two giant trees in the studio.
What?
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's pretty cool.
You can go on it's really cool. And we had an artist build these trees. We had 2 columns, and so we turned the columns into giant trees. It's a heated studio. And then we've got an Everybody Fights boxing gym that I did in conjunction with George Foreman 3 upstairs. And then we have this giant 40-yard AstroTurf indoor football field that we just play out on. And so we have 190 fitness classes a week.
Holy cow.
There's something going on all the time, and it's just it's a place that the largest operator of health clubs in Latin America, Brazil, Mexico, etc., was in the club and said to me, he goes, I'm happy in every space. So we've created something that just feels good.
Yeah.
And so when you're a hotel guest, you walk around, the whole place feels good.
Wow.
Most hotel lobbies are nice and you can sit there and do your work maybe, but it's not, you're still in a transient environment. This is a cool, fun, energizing environment.
It sounds like it, except for the fact that you're making it impossible now, if I stay there, to slack off and not exercise. I mean, come on. What are you doing?
You can always hang out in the rooms.
Yes.
There are great views. Half the rooms look over the pool. The other half have a great view of downtown.
Great. But, I love it. I can see myself looking over the pool, self-shaming myself. Just go down there, Glenn. Just swim some laps, That'll be me. But I might just want to hang out in the room with your Staycast to stream to the 55-inch TVs, which is really a cool aspect. That is where I think the hotel industry needs to go. I want my content on your beautiful TV. So I love that little move.
Well, we tried to so from a hotel point of view, I tried to design out all of the pet peeves that I have when I go to hotel rooms.
All right, so what are some of the things that annoy you that you think you found solutions to?
So, one is it's a regular old telephone that you can pick up and dial out anywhere in the world. You don't get charged. Mm-hmm. Not that anyone really uses their phone anymore, but I figured that was a nice way to
I love it when hotel brands charge you a $30 resort fee and then include free local calls in it, because that's real generous.
So that's one.
Yep.
And here's the thing. You walk into our hotel rooms and you flip on the light switch and there's a lot of light. There's 3 can lights in the ceilings.
No.
There's a strip light along the top of the whole bed. And so you can see in our hotel room.
Uh-oh. Steven, I think I'm falling in love here. This is amazing. I love it. What else?
So, number 1 is light. Number 2 is it's got real wood floors. Mm-hmm. So it smells and feels clean and nice.
Love it.
Number 3, the safe is in the closet, has a lid that goes up instead of out. So you can see everything in the safe.
Cool.
The bathroom is big and is well lit and is just very functional. So I put function as well as aesthetics very high on the list.
Great.
The thing about boutique hotels, I joke, is a boutique hotel is a crappy building that they paint dark and make moody so they can cover up all the problems.
Right.
This is one where there's plenty of room to spread it out. We have a real desk that's extra long so you can put your suitcase out. I've designed a place to roll your little roller bag under the desk so that it's not in the way. And we have a lounge chair with a seaside table, so it's a sea table, so you can do your laptop on a lounge if you're a millennial, and a real office chair with a real office desk if you're an office person.
Nice.
And the lights have pull chains, so if you want to turn the light, you can grab the chain and pull it down, as opposed to search around for some kind of switch that could be anywhere.
I love it. This is really terrific stuff. Thank you for addressing all of the concerns that a lot of
And
hotels
then,
ignore.
and then my piece de resistance is when you open when you open the side drawer, there's no Bible, but there's our Bible, which is the official rules of tennis.
Right. I like that. Much to the chagrin of the Gideons, but hey, I like it. Impressive. So,
just a little twist.
Yeah. I like it. So is this the first of more to come here, Stephen Schwartz, or is it cannot be topped?
Here's the thing. I was a hotel developer at Hyatt. Mm-hmm. It's hard enough to find good sites for hotels, and as a club owner, it's hard enough to find good sites for what I call a sports resort.
Right.
Finding sites where both work is, that Venn diagram doesn't overlap as much as you'd like.
Mm-hmm.
Every hotel needs a good health club.
Yeah.
Because we all know travelers want one.
Mm-hmm.
They usually give them kind of a crappy club, but it satisfies most people's basic needs. And then they make a deal maybe down the street with some real club. But for those people who are really serious, this is a terrific option. I don't know how many locations around the world make sense. Equinox is talking about, they haven't built any yet. I think in our portfolio, our Florida club is under hoteled and is a perfect location for both. Montreal, our location would be terrific. There's just no land to put it on.
Right.
I can't retrofit it. So I think there are locations. I want to get this one right before I decide where else.
And I love how honest you are, because most people when asked that question will be like, "Oh, we're going to do 500 of them around the world by 2018."
Well, everyone's a victim of their capital structure. We're a family-owned company, and so we're going to go. And it's our own money on the line. We're going to make sure we make money each step of the way. We're not trying to sell someone some growth story that may or may not be true.
Beautiful.
But there are other people who have married hotels with health clubs, but I don't think anyone's done it as successfully or in such an integrated way as we have.
Well, I love it.
So it's kind of fun.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, hey, I guess everybody's going to go and have to check it out. And then you could be a judge for yourself. Yes. So,
the other thing we've done that is different than any other health club, we put a really high-end, fine casual. It's not fine dining, but casual fine dining restaurant with basically a celebrity chef. So the food and the bar in our health club is as good as anything you can find out there in the city.
Awesome. Well, the rooms look absolutely fantastic. I'm looking at some of the imagery. The pool looks phenomenal. The indoor pool I'm talking about specifically. Wow. It just looks really gorgeous. Something that I think meets my visual aesthetic and also the way that I want to live and work out of a hotel. So congratulations on all of that.
Thank you very much. We look forward to having you stay one of these days.
Yes, next time I get back to Chicago. I was just there a couple of weeks ago for a family wedding, and I had to stay downtown in order to be at the other hotel. But you guys are on my mind because this interview was coming up soon. So how can people find the hotel there, sir?
The best way is just to go to our website, midtownhotelchicago.com.
Perfect.
Take a look.
I will definitely do that, and I encourage each and every one of you to check it out. Man, I want to feel like I'm doing good for myself. I want to feel like I'm staying in a place that totally gets me, and I'm definitely gonna come by there next time I'm in Chicagoland. So I want to thank you, Stephen, for being here with me today. Much appreciated.
Glenn, it's been my pleasure.
And it's been my pleasure, too, and I want to thank all of you guys for listening. And now stay tuned, because after this commercial break, we've got a great interview. I'm going to be very coy on who it is, because I don't know as I'm recording this which one it's going to be. I have so many in the can, I don't know which one to pick from. But it's going to be great, and you already know what it is, because you looked at the show notes. You know more than I do right about now, so I congratulate you all on that. Stick around, and we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Have a question for your host, Glenn? Tweet him now at Traveling Glenn. No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Glenn here. And if you're like me, then I know that you love terrific art. Art that creates a sense of place. Art that tells a story of where you are. Art that adds a level of detail that you can't get anywhere else. And great folks that do this Kevin Barry Fine Art Associates. You can find them online at kevinbarryfineart.com, and I highly encourage that you check them out. One recent project that I'm totally in love with is the Fairmont, Washington, D.C., where they created a custom project with a local artist, and they created some of this on site. They actually created a multi-dimensional wall sculpture from gold blocks, which is an abstracted map grid of the Washington, D.C. area. It's got different elevations to it and looks absolutely fantastic. It was done along with Deborah Forrest and Amanda Jackson of Forrest Perkins, which is now Perkins Eastman. And they all work together to create this fabulous new look. So if you want to create a fabulous new look for your hotel, or if you just love great art, check out kevinbarryfineart.com or give them a call at 310-945-2655. Let them know Glenn sent you.
Back to the show. It's No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman.
All right, everybody, Glenn back here. And, one of the things that I find most interesting is I get to go on the road and see other interesting speakers. Of course, I'm very sad and depressed that I'm not the guy on stage doing the speech, but that could all change if you hire me. Just find me at Traveling Glenn. Shameless plug. But I did have a chance at a recent event when I was at Chesapeake Hospitality's annual event to hear this really cool guy speak. His name is Jeff Evans. He's author of the book Mountain Visions, Lessons Beyond the Summit. And what I really liked about Jeff is he's really a model for how each and every one of us can find ways to achieve things that we didn't do possible. And he's had some great stories to tell. So I wanted to bring him in here, and we'll see if we can make it apply to the world of hospitality. Jeff, man, how are you, sir?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me, Glenn. It's good to be here. We're
Yeah.
doing good in Colorado today.
Yeah, you're looking pretty good. I know the folks can only hear it, but I could see you on Skype. You're looking nice and relaxed coming from from Colorado. So how's life treating you down there?
Good. We got our first snow just, 2 days ago, and it's kind of lingering outside. And so the animals have kind of bedded down for the past couple days. Not a whole lot of elk or deer activity, but boy, it's magical here in Colorado. We love it.
Yeah, man, you are just like I think the opposite of me. You're busy climbing Mount Everest, and I have to do a metaphorical Mount Everest. Sometimes I drive from New York City to Montauk on a Friday in the summer. So I would say, you don't got anything on me. With
all relative. I'll have our own adventures, and it's just scalable, right? It's all scalable.
Right. So I find it interesting that you found this way towards motivational speaking, and I thought it might be fun to talk to you here in terms of the hospitality industry about the lessons that you've learned and how you apply it to your life, and how you think each and every one of us can find some of those things within us that we didn't necessarily know we had. So maybe a good place to start is when did you decide to not have a traditional life and be focused on, that sense of adventure?
Well, I think that was born probably, not long after I was, because I was pretty much right out of the womb, sort of a restless kid, and that restlessness manifested as getting in trouble a lot,
right?
As a youngster growing up in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. And, I would find myself just out scampering around and doing things out in the woods. And,
right.
And then that turned as a teenager into just kind of getting in trouble. So how was I going to channel that in a more positive way so that I didn't end up in jail?
How did you even recognize that you needed to do that? Because I think that a lot of people get involved in a cycle of negativity that they don't even realize is happening before it's too late.
Yeah, I'd like to say that I had some epiphany or, some mentor that sort of pushed me in that direction, but I was just maybe in a sort of subtle way, I was trying to listen to myself, even though I didn't know what I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a way, I took note of the fact that I was just trying to find my place or my voice, and I didn't have one. And I needed to find where that outlet was. And I knew it wasn't going to be, living at home with my folks. It was going to be, out west, because boy, isn't that, the Rockwellian sort of dream, is to sort of manifest out west and go out there and sort of plant your seeds and see what happens. And so, I failed out of college right out of the gate, my first year in Tennessee, and then packed my bags with a buddy of mine, and we moved out, knowing no one. Had about $50 in our pockets, just packed our cars and trucks up and headed west. And
that's pretty amazing to be at that point in your life, and to be foolish enough to not know what the limitations are. I mean, if you're older, you probably wouldn't have done such an incredible thing, but picking up is pretty wild, ballsy thing to do in retrospect, I bet.
Yeah, I think so. And it's like it was this blend of recklessness and then just sort of an aim, like an anticipated trajectory. So I just moved out, not really knowing what I was going to do. I was going to go ski for a little while and climb and get in the mountains. And then fortunately for me, very, very quick after arriving, I started running with some rock climbers. Mm-hmm. And they were a couple years older than me. And they sort of took me under their wing and taught me, how to not get dead, basically.
Right.
And I took that rock
I would say that's probably the most essential part of rock climbing.
It's a pretty critical skill set to have. And, sometimes we overlook that skill set.
Yeah.
Right? So the time I spent was really just sort of honing that craft. But where it sort of began to evolve was I realized that I enjoyed being in the mountains and on the rocks, but what did I really enjoy about it was this tribe that I was connecting with these people, and then going out and having adventures with other folks that wanted to have adventures. Because isn't that the case? It's like, we like to journey down these roads, but it sure is a whole lot more fun when you got somebody with you, and you can share it and talk about it and experience it together, because then you can come back, and even though you just shared the same exact rock route or the same adventure, there's two different perspectives, and it's fun to. So then that gradually evolved into me wanting to guide people, mm-hmm. and be a guide for folks and get folks out into these places that were so special to me. And that's how I ended up sort of, walking down this path.
Yeah. So at what point do you realize that you are passionate about something, and then you could turn it into something that serves as the basis for your entire career? I speak to a lot of people trying to figure this out, because I'm a big believer. I'm lucky I get to do what I'm passionate about, right? And I don't think every single person out there gets to do what they're passionate about. But I feel like if you're in the hospitality industry, you're probably already onto that.
Yeah. And that's the big mystery, right? That's the box that we all want to unlock, is how to turn that on its side. Well, as I was sort of developing my climbing and guiding skills, I got into the University of Colorado, and I started studying anthropology and cultural anthropology specifically. Mm-hmm. And there's an academic that most people have heard of. I'm sure a lot of your listeners probably have, a guy named Joseph Campbell.
Of course.
Who did a lot of the archetypal hero, right? So, and the hero's journey, and how the hero is within all of us. And in a way, I really focused a lot on Campbell when I was in school, and I didn't know it at the time, but that man and his studies and his literature that I decided to use as my thesis from my undergrad in anthropology was a seed planter for me, because it was telling me, do what you love and allow that love to then burgeon into this sustainable path, right? And it sounds so easy, and he makes it sound so easy and so cool, and just like it's just a diagram, like this is all you got to do, just do what you love. It's not that easy, right? And
yeah.
There's a lot of starts and stops when you think of things like that, but I think honestly that's where it germinated from, was sort of reading some about the hero's journey and understanding that for me to really truly find happiness, I had to weave it together. And then comes the big question of, be careful what you ask for.
Right.
Because with me, I here I am, like, okay, I want to be a mountain guide. well, how sustainable is that? Around that same time, I had several colleagues and acquaintances die. And I was seeing multiple divorces.
And what you do is so high risk, but also high reward in the sense that you get to feed that adrenaline junkie part of you, I suppose. So when you embark on a career like this, I guess you kind of have to block out all of that other kind of stuff, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, not block it out, but just understand that that's
right.
one of the mass,
right. I don't mean to say ignore it completely. I think what my language should be cognizant of it, but don't let it control you.
Don't let the fear control you. Yeah, and that's one of the big, as you heard my keynote, like you can't let that fear hold you back, but not at the expense of being reckless.
Yeah.
That recklessness can be the other side of that, which has gotten a lot of people. So, with regards to sort of my planning and what I wanted to do, I knew that at one point I wanted to have a family. I wanted to, I'm a Southern boy. I wanted to meet a Southern girl and marry her and have a boy or a girl, have a kid or kids and live in Colorado. That's, that was my dream. And I didn't see those things as congruent, really.
Right.
So then the question was like, what was my other big passion? Okay. So it's mountains. And since I was a little itty bitty kid, there was a show that you might remember called Emergency.
Of course. Oh my God. I love that show. That and Adam 12.
Adam 12, right. Like those are my favorite shows, right?
I love the beginning credits of Emergency. I think it was like, there's Emergency, and then the fire trucks would roll out and stuff.
They'd roll around like Los Angeles County, pulling cats out of trees and flirting with girls and fire. And I was like, that's it, man. That's cool. That's cool stuff. So medicine had always been the other thing for me.
Right.
It was in medicine. So in the same spirit of sort of the Campbell thing, and trying to create an arena that made me happy where I could do the things I wanted to do, I got my EMT license and I started practicing out in the wilderness, obviously, but also in clinical settings. And I had to make the decision as to whether I wanted to be a doctor or a paramedic or a nurse, or I discovered this new career that was just burgeoning in the mid-90s called physician assistant.
Right.
And I was like, wow, look at that. That's pretty cool. I can get in school. I can knock it out. I can come out. I can practice semi-independently and work emergency medicine, have a career, still be in the mountains and on. And so I did it. I set my mind to it and I did it and I got into PA school and now I'm a PA and I sort of blended mountains and medicine together and here we are and in a way they're both sort of synchronized, in a way I'm there to elevate people. I'm there to help people when they need a hand.
Right, and I guess that makes a lot of sense because if you're helping people push their own personal boundaries, you need to support them and give them what they need psychologically, emotionally, in order to get them to excel at levels that they never expected they could.
And I've always thought, mountain climbing expeditions are always, and I even say this now to the clients, is, it's a big chemistry experiment, and it's like we're all in this petri dish on the side of a mountain. And the mountains strip you down. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of us love it so much, because you can't hide behind anything, right? It's just, it gets the pure version of you. We all have masks that we wear.
Right.
But when you get into the mountains.
I think Billy Joel had a song about that, The Stranger. Right?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, so you're right. We all hide behind those masks. So how do you help people remove that and see their true self and let their true self come out?
Well, the mountains do that by default, and outdoor it all does that. It does it for me, and then my job is to acknowledge it and to allow people to sort of swim in it just a little bit, because being a guide, especially on a mountain that like say for instance Kilimanjaro, and it's not technical, but it's hard. and people get their butts kicked, and they become stripped down, and they can't hide anymore, and that's disturbing for a lot of folks. So my job is to help them identify that, but then, try to cherry pick the good stuff that comes from it, and acknowledge maybe the bad stuff, maybe the insecurities, or maybe the feelings of loss, or there's a lot of things that come out. Altitude just smacks you around, and you feel sad, and you feel really happy. Everything's just so amplified.
Right. Sounds like me when I've had a little too much fun at a fish show or something like that. So, exactly the same thing. My personal Mount Everest would have been to going all 13 of the Baker's Dozen shows this summer at Madison Square Garden, but that's a story for another day.
You did all?
No, I did 3. I'm in my mid-40s. I can only do so much. Plus, I took the family on a vacation in the middle of that run. But more importantly, Jeff, you've been to the top of the world, and I guess that's not just, an actual thing. It's also kind of metaphorical for your personal journey as well. So what was like that experience, going to where so few people have been on the world? And I believe from your speech, you were the only one up there for a little while, all alone in one area, the highest of any human being at that particular moment in time. That's pretty heady experience.
Yeah, for a little bit. I was, well, let me back up. So my Everest experience was very unique. Everest has kind of turned into a little bit of a clown show these days. It's just very commercialized. And back when we did it was in 2001, 16 years ago.
Right. Back before it was super cool. Now it's kind of almost like people are past it. You probably want to go somewhere else to get a real experience.
Yeah, that's kind of how a lot of folks feel about it. Mm-hmm. And it's all good. Everybody seeks their own measure of adventure and fun. And I've been back to Everest, many times since 2001. But the thing about our trip that was very unique is our team rallied around one cause, and that was our blind friend Eric, blind mare.
Yeah, in case you didn't hear that, he actually assisted a good friend of his who happens to be blind all the way up to the top. I would think it's an amazing challenge for yourself, but then to be responsible for making sure somebody else who does not have all of their physical assets must be extremely challenging as well.
Yeah, and in the spirit of what I was saying, I was saying was it made it not about me or about us, which is I think a really liberating tool, because when you take yourself out of the equation, and you allow your energy to be focused on this other person or this other task or to elevate someone else,
right?
Your discomforts, your pains and issues sort of get diluted a little bit, they don't hit as hard, because I'm not really thinking about how, tired my legs are. I'm thinking about how to keep Eric safe, and keep him alive. And so in a way it's very liberating to do that. And so that's why our Everest experience was very unique. And you asked me what it was like. Well, it was unique because it wasn't about me. Because it was a community event in a sense, a lot of good friends. All of us were guides. We weren't guided. We were just a group of buddies that were all together having fun and doing something that was, bigger than us.
Right.
And that now I didn't even know it at the time. We were just a bunch of bros going out climbing and going to try to do something. And now looking back all these years later, I realized just how powerful that it is. And now I'm able to share those stories of trust and communication and teamwork and love and nurturing and elevation of others, servant leadership. All those things sort of naturally came out of this team and this effort to be able to get him to the top.
So for us down here at sea level, working in, say, the hospitality industry, for example, how do some of the lessons that you've learned apply to us being successful every single day in our careers and empowering others within their career so we could all rise the tide together and be successful?
Yeah, I mean, and like you heard from my keynote, and my keynote is really based on being of service to others, and in every capacity, professionally and personally, and that's why I think it's, in doing so, you end up bringing the overall sort of energy of a group, whether it's your bowling team or your kids' flag football team, or at work, with a particular project, or in the hospitality industry, it's how you engage and interact with your guests. And all of that plays into this role of thinking about other people first. And when you do sort of establish a servant leadership culture within yourself, and then that permeates out, just wonderful things happen. All the data now really truly supports that, in any atmosphere, professionally or personally, that when an environment or an atmosphere is based on a nurturing sort of style, not fear-based, not hatchet style, not in a negative sense, but in a more of from a place of service to the people around you, then all of the teammates, all of the individuals that are a part of this road team, productivity increases, creativity increases, and people feel safe. They feel cared for. They feel nurtured. They feel like they are doing the good work. And boy, that's contrary to, I think, how it used to go. And I'm fortunate enough to go to a lot of different industries all over the country. And I see certain industries that are not based on servant leadership. And I don't say it, but I get
of course not. You're getting paid. You got to say the things that are going to make that audience happy.
Good luck, guys, Yeah. And contrary to that, like, I do events where, I really get this sense of there is a lot of compassion here for each other and for the team. And those are the groups that are just going to crush. So I think that's what it comes from.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly well said. And I think it's important for each and every one of you listening out there to think about that corporate culture in there. And I'm a big believer in positive energy within the universe. The more that you put out there, the more that you help others, the more that you help others achieve, the more in turn I think you will be successful and achieve as well. Is that kind of what you've experienced in life, Jeff?
It's very Boulder, Colorado of you.
I know. I think I should have been a Colorado guy instead of a Brooklyn boy.
Very hippie, but it's true, man. It's like I'm actually currently reading Astrophysics for People in a Hurry, that Neil deGrasse Tyson book. And one of the whole principles of it is like, everything in the universe expands and contracts, and it's almost like it bounces, right? Things bounce back. And that's what we're talking about. It's like on a micro scale, everything that we do sort of bounces back. It expands and contracts, and it comes back to us. So as hokey as it sounds, turns out it's real science too, and it's like, that's legitimately how the world works. So
yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Jeff, you've also had an opportunity to be on the Amazing Race, where you also had to overcome some challenges. Not only did you have your friend Eric with you, but your other teammate sustained an injury as well. So how do you find success? And I know you did well on that show when it seems like all the odds are stacked against you.
Yeah. Well, and it was a show called Expedition Impossible, and it was on ABC. It was a Mark Burnett show.
Oh, sorry, I got my Mark Burnett shows confused.
Yeah. I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago or something. But it was fun. I was in Morocco, and it was a great experience. That experience where it was 13 teams of 3, and we're all charging around Morocco, and I had Eric on one side, and my other teammate was a guy named Ike, who was a 2-time Purple Heart recipient, Army Ranger, super tough guy.
Right.
And so, we picked Ike because he's a stud, and in the middle of a race when things are rough, you want somebody in your foxhole that's dependable and awesome and strong and capable. and can deal with, sort of embracing the suck, as we say.
Yeah.
So we picked Ike, and we started off, and what that whole experience taught me in that month that we were in Morocco is that adversity is such an expected variable that you better expect the unexpected, right? You better just we those of us who've been in it long enough now, whatever profession, whatever industry, we just know that shit's going to go sideways at some point, right? It's going to happen. Unquestionably, it's going to happen. And matter of fact, you better prepare for the unexpected. So, of course, Ike goes off and steps off a curb, like, 3/4 of the way through the thing, and breaks his ankle. And so now he's in a cast.
That's amazing. You do all of these adventures, climbing in mountains, overcoming all sorts of challenges, and you get hurt doing something so basic.
Stepped off the curb, broke the ankle. So now I've got a blind dude on one side and a dude with a cast and, broken ankle on the other. And, we were only halfway through the thing. So, did I anticipate my Army Ranger busting his ankle? Heck no, man. It just happened. And how you manifest the adversity, that's the thing that really occurred to me. Like, we could have just kind of crawled up and been like, all right, that's it, done, like we're all finished. But no, you don't do that, right? Mm-hmm. You just, you figure out, you stand up, you assess, you re-strategize, and you just link arms. And like we've seen recently, like bad times bring people the best out of people too.
Yep.
With regards to all these things that are happening in our world today, it's, good things can arise from pretty rough landscapes. And that's sure what we did. We ended up finished second on that race in spite of, all the adversity.
That's absolutely amazing accomplishment. And I would say, I think that I wish that we spent more time in the good times, remembering how we all rally together and find success in those awful times. I think we have a tendency to forget all of that. So I hope everyone listening takes that lesson from them in particular. Anything else, Jeff, from Mountain Visions, Lessons Beyond the Summit, that you think is really important to share with the listeners right now?
Well, one of the big, I'm in the middle of writing a new book right now, and it's based on this premise that continues to sort of surface for me, these environments that I always seek out. I don't know if you remember, but I told the story about being in Iraq. I was just in Mosul.
I remember.
I try to volunteer and go do missions with this one particular NGO, after the earthquake in Nepal. And then they asked me to lead a team into Mosul, to embed with the Iraqi special operations. And we did, and it was intense. And we were there for several weeks, and a lot of, it was the immensity and profundity of the trauma, the penetrating trauma was absolutely nuts. But what it showcased to me was just another example of how I keep seeking out these volatile, chaotic environments. And so I started researching it, and that's why I'm in the middle of this book, and it's based on this acronym that was started by the American Military Academy about 40 years ago, called VUCA, and VUCA stands for Volatile, Uncertain, Chaotic, and Ambiguous. And it's how we operate in those environments, and how we optimize our efforts when things are sideways. And so I think that everybody can kind of relate to that. It's a topic that's very, I'm percolating on it almost, 15 hours a day now, just thinking it through, thinking through what it's like and how we historically have been, and then, how the best leaders have operated in that. And the industry that you work in is obviously very volatile and changing and uncertain and moving and kinetic and fluid. And so I think that, that topic in particular is something that really rings true for me, and how we all can be better when things are, twisted and sideways.
Yeah, and I think that shows the real mettle from each and every one of us. How do you react when times are tough? We could all be awesome when things are good, but I think we learn the most. We find out our true inner selves when we face challenges and adversity. I've always said that the only way we can grow as human beings is to get out of your comfort zone. If you don't do that, then you're just not going to grow as a human being.
True story.
Yep. Awesome. Any final words from you, sir?
No, yeah. Thanks for your time. That was cool. It was good chatting with you again.
Yeah, man. Great talking to you, too. And I, of course, have my copy of Mountain Vision here, Lessons Beyond the Summit, which you were so gracious enough to sign for me. So thanks very much for that. And for all of you out there, you can get it at Amazon.com, of course, because they are the #1 place to buy these books. And if you're interested in having Jeff speak at your event, Jeff, how can they find you?
Social media is all at Jeff_B_Evans. So Jeff B. Evans, and then it's my website as well is jeffbevans.com.
Great. And I want to thank everybody for listening. And I will, of course, be back next week unless I decide to do something challenging like, climb Mount Everest or drive out to Montauk in the middle of the summer. Thanks, guys. Be back next week.
Thanks so much for listening to No Vacancy, the hospitality industry's #1 podcast with your host, Glenn Hausman, online at rouse.media, on Twitter at Traveling Glenn, and on Facebook.com/Glenn.Hausman. We'll catch you next time.